Hello and welcome back to Let's Talk About Things. And today, things are going to get a little bit bananas because we're talking about Donkey Kong. So, a lot of Nintendo's franchises have made this leap over to the Nintendo Switch, including things like The Legend of Zelda, Mario, Splatoon, Kirby, and even next year, Animal Crossing, Smash Brothers is coming, Pokemon's coming, Metroid is coming. About everything has made it over. Now, yes, there are still some big holes in this. Star Fox, F-Zero, Chibi Robo, Pikmin, and one of the most notable ones, in my opinion, is Donkey Kong. Now, yes, I know a lot of you are saying, technically, Donkey Kong is on Switch, because Tropical Freeze, the Wii U game from Retro, has been ported over to the Nintendo Switch. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. No, we're talking about a new entry in the Donkey Kong franchise made specifically for the Nintendo Switch. Now, there are two ways I could see a new Donkey Kong game going down. So the first option is the continuation of the current Donkey Kong Country Returns series. This would be headed by Retro Studios and would imply that the current game they are working on is a sequel to Tropical Freeze. However, if we are returning to the 2D platformer style of gaming that, Tropical Freeze is based off of, there is something we need, and that's a new angle. Because seemingly this will be running on the Tropical Freeze Switch version engine, so it wouldn't be that graphically new or anything, so we need a new way to get people interested in this game. And there are two things I came up for that. The first is the return of King K. Rool. Now, obviously, King K. Rool has made a new appearance in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. And with this, I'm hoping that he'll be able to do the same in his original franchise and return to the Donkey Kong Country series. Now, having K. Rool as a villain would be a huge marketing point already and would probably bring quite a few people into this new game because they want to see what it's like. The second idea I have is to take a page out of the N64's book and bring back these guys.
Here we go. Performance for you. If you know the words, you can join in too. Put your hands together if you wanna clap. As we take you through this monkey rap.
That's right, the Kong crew is back. Chunky Kong, Tiny Kong, and Lanky Kong. I think it's about time these Kongs made a return to the franchise, only appearing in Donkey Kong 64. What's that about? I mean, yes, they were in some spin-off titles, but the mainly thing what they were in last in was 64. And I think bringing them back would add a lot to the Donkey Kong Country franchise. First off, these are three Kongs who have not appeared before in a Tropical Freeze or Donkey Kong Country style platformer game. Their original game was the Collectathon. It was nothing like this. So originally we had just Donkey Kong. It was just your regular Donkey Kong playthrough. In the port, they added in Funky Kong, and he's your easy mode playthrough, similarly to like the white Tanuki suit that they do in Mario, or the Yoshi thing that they do in Woolly World where he has the wings, that kind of a thing. Funky just makes it a bit easier for players because Tropical Freeze is a hard game. But what if you're on the opposite spectrum? You're a veteran of the Donkey Kong Country series, and you want a little bit more of a challenge. Well, that's where the brand new Chunky mode comes in for you. Now, in this mode, we would be playing as Chunky Kong, and he would have a couple things different from Donkey Kong. First off, he would be much slower and heavier, and it would make it harder to do basic platforming. Not impossible or anything, not even frustrating, but just a little bit more difficult than with Donkey Kong. You're going to have to be a lot better at making sure you got the right jumps going on and make sure you're a little bit more perfect and, used to playing the game than you would be with Donkey Kong, because Donkey Kong is a little bit faster and can redirect and make some changes. Chunky can't do that. Once you go into something, there you go. You got to get out of it. However, to make that a little bit easier on you, Chunky will have more health than Donkey Kong. And of course, in Tropical Freeze, you had Diddy, Dixie, and Cranky Kong helping out Donkey Kong. In the Chunky mode, you'll have Lanky and Tiny Kong. Lanky Kong will inflate himself like a balloon, of course, his signature thing from Donkey Kong 64, and allow you to float and give you more time and easier jumps to make. He also, of course, is stretchy and has long arms, so he's going to be able to help you get across jumps, across pits, across all this stuff, and carry Chunky Kong around. Although for a limited time, because Chunky Kong is a heavy guy, and if you stay holding on too long with Lanky, he'll let go and you'll just drop into some spikes, so be careful on that point. Tiny Kong will also retain her signature ability and will shrink, except she won't be shrinking just herself, she'll also be shrinking Chunky Kong, making him a bit quicker and a bit more agile, allowing him to make jumps a bit easier in the new Chunky mode. However, this does come with a hit, because she's also going to shrink your health bar. This will basically just turn Chunky Kong into DK, except now you no longer have the ability to choose partner Kongs. You can't grab someone else. I mean, yes, you can always switch between Tiny and Lanky as much as you want, but if you go in with Tiny, you're stuck. You cannot just grab Diddy or Dixie or Cranky Kong to help you out here. If you want to switch to Funky, that's fine and all, but you're kind of stuck playing as just a singular DK with no more health than DK would have, and even a little bit slower, I think, than DK would be normally. Now, I know this leaves things a little bit lopsided, because Donkey Kong, of course, has 3 partners, and Chunky would only have 2 in this scenario. But let's just be honest with ourselves, no one likes Kiddy Kong, and I'm not putting him in this game. There's nothing you can make me. They left him out of Tropical Freeze. They replaced him with Cranky. There's a reason for it. Everybody hates Kiddy Kong. He's not fun. No one likes him. So instead of him, I couldn't think of anybody. I'm real honest here, because the only other Kongs we have are Candy Kong, who I don't really think has anything to help us out with here. Swanky Kong, and we all know he's not doing anything out of the kindness of his heart. And Wrinkly Kong. And Wrinkly Kong is dead, so I don't think that she could help us either. Although, I have to admit that Wrinkly Kong's being a ghost could add some interesting things and would parallel with Cranky Kong. So if any of you can think of an idea for Wrinkly Kong's moveset or power set or whatever she'll help Chunky out with, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you have any ideas for Lanky and Tiny that I didn't mention, leave them in there too. I think it'd be fun to talk about how these Kongs would interact with Chunky to help you out on your mission. Now, yes, most of this game will take place on Donkey Kong Island. I also would like it if we found out wherever K. Rool was. Like, maybe the Kremlins have come back to Donkey Kong Island to attack DK, but they gotta get to King K. Rool's new turf to fight him now. He ain't coming to Donkey Kong Island. No. This is a bait and switch thing. So maybe there's like Kremling Swamp or something that you could visit and have new segments and whatnot. And it's not as compelling, I don't think, as the Snowmads from Tropical Freeze, but I'm sure Retro could figure something out like that. However, the biggest hurdle I think that this game has is that Retro Studios is currently working on a game. We know that. They've been working on a game for a very long time, and I don't think it would be a sequel to Tropical Freeze, especially since Tropical Freeze just got put on the Switch. Now, yes, it could be because this game is taking longer than they thought, and they had to delay it, so instead of just bringing it out that year, or this year, they put out Tropical Freeze to satiate us a little bit and get us ready for this next title. But I don't find that likely. I find it far more likely that they're working on something else, probably not Donkey Kong related at all, so that's where we go into idea 2. Now, if any of you are paying attention to the modern gaming market, as opposed to the past one, there's one major style of game that has disappeared for a very, very long time, and at fan request, I really do think, is starting to make a reappearance, and that is the 3D platformer collectathon genre. We saw it a little bit with Mario Odyssey, right? That was more 3D platformer, not quite a collectathon, although with the amount of moons, I don't know if it could count as that. And we also seen games like Yooka-Laylee from Playtonic Games and A Hat in Time from Gears for Breakfast. So this kind of thing this kind of game is being filled in with indie developers, and for that reason, I think that Nintendo should take this into account and bring us a 3D platformer collectathon of Donkey Kong, a sequel to Donkey Kong 64. Fans have been requesting from Microsoft and Rare for years to give us a new Banjo-Kazooie game, and their seeming negligence towards this idea could make for a very good opportunity for Nintendo, because of course, Rare also made Donkey Kong 64, so basically just making a new Banjo-Kazooie game with a Donkey Kong coat of paint over it, although it should be a little bit more than that, but you guys understand my point, could make for a great marketing tool, as well as just a good selling point for Nintendo right now. Plus, it'd be really cool to see the collectathons come back, and I don't think that, I know that Yooka-Laylee left a bit of a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth, and I do think that was because Playtonic, kind of stuck a little bit too much to the retro style, and that But I understand why they did that, right? That's all the signals people were giving them, and it just made sense. That's the game they knew how to make and whatnot. And I don't think that should necessarily be a huge negative, because if you really look at it, that's what we were asking for. But with the help of a AAA game studio like Nintendo, I really do think they could update it and bring new things in there and revolutionize that genre that has been dormant for so long. In fact, I don't think Nintendo should develop this game. Now, yes, could Nintendo develop it? Sure, but here's the issues I have with that. Retro is the first studio you'd think of to take care of this, of course, because they have the Donkey Kong stuff going on right now. But like I said, with the 2D platformer idea, I don't think they're working on Donkey Kong, so they probably won't have time to be doing a 3D platformer Donkey Kong right now. The second people I'd want to take on this project would be the Mario Odyssey team, but I also think they're busy working on Mario Odyssey 2. Mario Odyssey came out in the first year of Nintendo back in 2017. It's 2018 going into 2019. I think by 2020, we'll be looking at the possibility of Mario Odyssey 2 releasing on Switch, or at least being announced. So I do think that they're working on that right now, and that's where their focus is. So that leaves us with a third party coming in. And my first thought is Platonic Games. Of course, they're the original Rare guys. They are the perfect people to be doing this. Not only have they worked with Nintendo before, but they've worked on Donkey Kong before. They made Donkey Kong Country, they made Donkey Kong 64, and they know what they're gonna do here. They already did all this. They perfected it back in the N64 era, so why not give them a new chance to do this with a bigger budget and a bigger team behind them? My second choice would be Gears for Breakfast. A Hat in Time was a huge success, and it's a great game. It also seems to know exactly what people want in form of a new platformer, and even hit the mark harder than Yooka-Laylee did, in my opinion. So Gears for Breakfast would be another great idea. Plus, again, you'd be giving an indie studio AAA funding and a AAA team behind them, and they could do so much more with that support behind them. But I understand that Nintendo might not want to risk a big title on an indie developer, so if we had to go with somebody else, I would choose Ubisoft. Now, of course, Ubisoft has a great relationship with Nintendo right now, and the fact that they already worked on the Rayman games, plus the attention to detail and care that they put into Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle and the Donkey Kong Adventure, really just makes me think that they would know what to do here. Now, of course, I'd want the Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle team behind this, because those guys pay so much attention to detail and really blew, like, I think almost Sakurai levels of attention into this game. So I think they'd be a good team to handle this, maybe with some help from the Rayman team, although I know that Ubisoft Studios don't really help each other very much, because why would you help each other make a great game? That's dumb, but whatever. But yeah, I think that's who I would go with if I had to go with a bigger studio, although Platonic or Gears for Breakfast would really be the ones I'm more leaning towards to make us a new Collectathon platformer in a Donkey Kong game. And yeah, you kind of have to bring back Chunky, Lanky, and Tiny Kong, Dixie, Diddy, Cranky, bring them all back. I want more emphasis on the Kong family, and just have everybody show up. Swanky Kong, Wrinkly Kong, in other roles and doing other things in the game. Except Kiddy Kong. Don't bring him in here. Do not put Kiddy Kong in this game. Although, you know who you should put in this game? Donkey Kong Jr. Figure out a role for Donkey Kong Jr. Show us who Donkey Kong Jr. grew up to become, because we know he's not Donkey Kong, because Donkey Kong is the son of Donkey Kong Jr. and it's a whole thing. It's a whole big thing within the Donkey Kong's lore. I don't know, but show us who he is now. That'd be fun, right? I think everybody would love to see that. I don't know. And yes, of course, the idea for a third-party platformer is a lot less fleshed out in my world here that I'm suggesting, because I don't really know how you update that. I'm gonna have to leave that to the developers to think of an idea for, but I really do think that's probably the best move to make right now. And if we're gonna go with a if we're gonna go with a 3D platformer Collectathon, I can't see any other series doing it better than Donkey Kong. At least from Nintendo, because boy, would it be great to get a new Banjo-Kazooie game. Guys, that's it for today's videos. Let me know, which idea do you prefer, the 3D platformer Collectathon idea or the continuation of the Donkey Kong Country Returns series with Retro Studios? What do you want to see from these games? What ideas do you have for these games? The power-ups, the buddies, the everything. I want to know in the comments. Remember to like, comment, favorite, subscribe. Do all that fun stuff down below. Share this video with a friend. Maybe they are crazy for a new Collectathon game or a new Donkey Kong game or want Banjo Kazooie. Shove this video in their face and help them support this Donkey Kong idea, so maybe we can get something akin to Banjo Kazooie. I really should have probably just made this into a Banjo Kazooie video now that I really think about that. But that's fine. It's okay. It don't have to be Banjo Kazooie because I wouldn't be able to play that anyways because I don't have an Xbox. So see you guys next time. Bye bye.